my recent videos have been about the good, the beautiful and the true. And I want to keep this one fairly simple. I mean, if you have basically decided that you would prefer to pursue the good, the beautiful and the true over the opposite, then these are just some points to consider. So I've also talked a lot about the golden rule of doing unto others as you would have them do unto you, and also not doing to others as you would not have them do unto you. So this is pretty basic really, but why in a sense does it matter if you can get away with it, with taking the other path? Well, can you? The contention, or the idea I want to put forward here, is that everything which you might do out of fear or out of malice is basically against your own spirit. You're eating a certain part of yourself in order to do it. Everything that you do for the good, or out of love or compassion or whatever, you're building your spiritual life. You're doing the right thing. You're creating something. So nowadays, perhaps a lot of the time, I mean, I'm not trying to claim that anybody is, I don't believe anybody's perfect. We live in a world which is intrinsically imperfect. We're living in what, according to the Bible, is the fallen world. It's when Adam and Eve ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, and they knew shame. So at that point they separated themselves from, shall we say, paradise, and the world we're living in here is that world. So nothing is perfect. We can't be perfect and live here in a sense. So returning to the basic idea, if you do something out of fear or hatred, certainly out of fear, many would say hatred is a certain aspect of fear, that the extremes are fear and love. So you're giving away a part of yourself when you do that. I mean, you should just feel it. You should just feel, I'm not doing what I want to be doing or what I would do because I have fear. Either something or some situation is bearing down on me and it is making me do this. To put it in modern terms, you could say it is making me its bitch, and I'm doing something which I wouldn't really want to do simply because I'm afraid. So that's putting it in quite a raw way. If you do something good, generally you don't really have to, do you? You know, it's like doing a good deed for the day. You can do a good deed, do something you wouldn't normally do and you don't have to do, and nobody's telling you to do it. You've done it out of your own free will. And in that sense, you've built yourself up in a certain way. And it all depends on what level it is, exactly what you've built. I mean, we have a physical body. We debatably have a body that underlies that physical body, a sort of pattern to which it conforms and which builds it up. We have a body of feeling, we have a body of intellect, and beyond that there is something else. And I've discussed this in other videos. I've called it the field. I've called it that sort of as an impersonal sort of thing, something which just is there. It's not imposed from outside necessarily, it's just a reality of this world. So there is also a thing which I think many of us experience, and that is intuition. And an aspect of that intuition is the meaningful coincidence. It means that something just happened. It doesn't mean, it means that, okay, something happens, but the point is we intuit that it is connected to a broader scheme. And, logically we might say, well, that was such an unusual event. What are the chances? And if it happens twice, well, you begin to suspect that there is something out there which is causing it to happen. So, if we're going to undertake practical action, there are perhaps two ways of doing it. There is the good deed for the day, which at its lowest can just mean picking up some litter and putting it in a bin, or it could mean picking up a dog shit bag you find by the entrance to this National Trust area, for instance, and simply disposing of it properly. Why people would leave it there in the first place, I can't say I understand. So it can be something, or the opportunity may arise to do something more. But in doing even that simple deed, you could argue that you are setting a good example. And if by good example you simply dissuade one other person from, say, littering for the next 60 years, I would suggest that you've saved possibly several tons of litter being deposited. So even a small act like that could have broader significance, and of course that person may go on to get their children to do it, and you get the general idea. From a simple initial example, you've got a massive effect in the end. Now the other way of looking at it is to stop doing the wrong thing to people. So this may be quite difficult, but the sting is that when you do it, you need, or I hate to order people about, but it's sort of, perhaps, I would suggest to you that you might feel that the reason you are doing it is out of fear of something else, out of someone else. That to that extent, you are allowing yourself to be possessed by that person or by that thing, whatever it is. I mean, you might also argue the same thing for doing the golden deed. You might say you're doing it to avert the evil which they might put upon you if you didn't do this simple thing. So this is where we, in a sense, we collide with the law. Do we keep the law because we have fear, or do we keep the law because we see it as morally justifiable and simply within the bounds of what a normal, decent person would do? So it's a question for us. Are we guided by outside, or do we have a moral compass of our own? And if we decide, well, we're going to have a moral compass of our own, the way we build that has to be by, to some extent, ignoring what is outside, ignoring those pressures, and yet trying to understand the way this world works, the way we work. Because there are two types of knowledge. I mean, as human beings, we can't really know everything about everything. We cannot know the intimate details of how a nuclear reactor works, or even our phone, or whatever it is. And these things we could spend many years studying, and at the end of it all we would understand is that we'd have a fairly narrow band of knowledge, and we might understand the supporting science. But there's always something we can understand much more personally, and that is ourselves. So knowing ourselves, being aware of our thoughts and feelings and intuitions, is a different kind of study. You might say it's a study of spirit. And that is something which is also a vast topic, because we change and we do things we don't even understand why we did them. We make wrong choices, we're fallible in that sense. But it is basically a more immediate and in some sense a more real study, because we are dealing with the very fabric of what we ourselves are. Thank you for watching.